The anchor of scent, the memory-sealed apothecary jar. Have you ever noticed, my dear friend, how a simple fragrance, just a wisp carried on the quiet air, can stop the whole rushing world? It's not just scent. It's an anchor tied to a long-forgotten dock where everything was still and soft. The keeper of quiet, the part of me that guards the inner peace, keeps a very small, dark glass apothecary jar. It sits on a high, cool shelf, wrapped in a bit of faded velvet, and it rarely needs to be opened. But when the outside noise grows too loud, when the thoughts become sharp and refuse to settle, that little jar is the first thing I reach for. It doesn't hold anything dramatic, no strong perfume or pungent spice. Inside, there is only a tiny piece of dried citrus peel, perhaps from a quiet morning tea taken many years ago, and a few loose, dark cedar shavings, the kind that smell like an old wooden chest in an attic, dusted with patience. To lift the heavy glass lid is to invite a specific moment back. It's the moment when the sun has dipped just below the horizon and the air turns that perfect indigo shade, cool but not yet cold. It is the feeling of having successfully finished something but not needing to rush into the next task. It's the silent, sighing relief of a door gently closing. I remember when I first found this specific calm. It wasn't a grand revelation, you see. It was just me, sitting on a worn wooden porch, peeling an orange very slowly, watching the cedar trees deepen in color as the last light faded. The combination of the bright temporary citrus and the deep enduring wood whispered something to my busy mind. Stay here, just this moment. And now, when I need that immediate calm, I don't even need to hold the jar close. Just tilting the lid is enough. The scent rises like a silent smoke, not demanding attention, but gently redirecting it. It pulls the frayed edges of my focus back to a center point, a single, smooth spot in time where anxiety had no foothold. Isn't it fascinating how something so fleeting can hold such solid emotional weight? It's a trick, perhaps, but a kind one. A little cheat code for the nervous system. The world continues to spin, the demands still wait, but for the span of one deep, slow inhalation, I am simply there, back on the porch, smelling the twilight air, watching the cedar darken. If you ever find your own secret scent, maybe it's old paper, maybe it's the specific mineral smell after a rain, or maybe it's just the clean scent of soap on a worn towel, tuck it away gently in your memory. Let it be the quiet word that interrupts the frantic conversation in your mind. It doesn't ask you to solve anything. It only asks you to breathe. Breathe in, breathe out. The little jar is closed now, resting on its velvet cloth, and the quiet for a moment has returned. The smallest light, the soft philosophy of the nightlight. I wonder, dear listener, if you have ever been truly comforted by a very, very small light, not the bright, assertive beam of a lamp meant for reading or working, but something utterly modest, a tiny, warm ember of illumination that asks nothing of you. In the Keeper of Quiet's kit, there is no place for harsh brilliance. When the mind is unsettled, sharp light can feel like a reprimand, showing us all the demanding edges and unfinished corners of the room. But the emergency kit needs something different, the soft philosophy of the nightlight. I recall a period, years ago, when sleep felt like a distant, unkind shore. The darkness of the room felt too heavy, too vast, allowing my anxieties to multiply in the shadows. And so I placed a tiny, low-wattage nightlight on the floor, tucked behind a small wooden box. Its light was barely enough to cast a shadow. It was just a pale, honeyed wash against the wall. And this small thing taught me so much about stillness. It wasn't there to reveal the room. It was there to confirm the room's presence, a gentle acknowledgement that the world hadn't vanished, but had simply settled down for a time. Imagine that small pool of light now. It's not trying to solve the darkness. It's simply existing alongside it, That is the quiet secret of true, immediate calm, isn't it? We don't have to vanquish our worries. Sometimes we only need to offer them a soft boundary, a minimal definition. The nightlight reminds me that perspective is merely the choice of focus. When my thoughts are racing, they feel like the whole wide world. But if I turn my attention to that one small, warm glow, everything else, the shadows, the fears, the unfinished tasks, recedes to the periphery. They are still there, yes, but they are no longer the only thing. They become less important than the steadfast, quiet refusal of the light to be extinguished. There is a profound humility in that smallest light. It doesn't promise a sunrise. It only promises that this moment is contained, soft and safe. It illuminates just enough of the floor to show you where to place your bare foot, should you need to rise, but mostly, it's just there to witness your rest. Sometimes, when I am troubled, I close my eyes and simply visualize that glow. I imagine that inside my chest there is a tiny, steady nightlight, and its gentle pulse is exactly the rhythm I need. It's warm, it's patient, and it is entirely self-sufficient. Do you have a small light in your memory? Something that felt like a quiet, warm hand resting on your shoulder? Let that be your guide now. Let that tiny, soft glow push back the heavy curtain of rush and demand. Rest your gaze upon it, even if only in your mind's eye. The smallest light has done its gentle work. It is peace, quietly witnessed. What soft sensation calls to us next? Shall we turn our attention to the soothing touch of what is familiar? The weight of linen, the comforting gravity of a familiar texture. When the mind feels weightless, spun up high on the winds of worry, sometimes the deepest calm comes from simply returning to gravity. Not the harsh pull of the earth, but the comforting, reliable pressure of something soft and familiar. This is the emergency measure I call the weight of linen. Do you have a favorite textile, my friend? Perhaps a shawl worn thin by years of reading, a blanket with the history of many quiet afternoons stitched into its folds, or even a simple cotton pillowcase that smells faintly of your own peaceful sleep. For me, it is a specific linen throw, an unassuming dusty shade of blue-gray. It has been washed so many times that it drapes and flows like water, utterly devoid of any stiffness. When I am seeking immediate calm, I don't just hold it, I receive it. To pull that linen over my shoulders is to put on a temporary, quiet armor. The key is the weight. It's not heavy enough to restrict, but just substantial enough to make its presence known. It's often referred to as grounding, this tactile comfort. The pressure sends a soft, unmistakable message to the nervous system. You are here. You are safe. You are held. Imagine the texture now. It isn't slick or shiny. It's matte and breathable, absorbing the light rather than reflecting it. If you close your eyes, you can almost trace the path of the individual threads, a small, orderly universe of warp and weft. It reminds me that even when my thoughts feel chaotic, there is a fundamental structure to things, a comforting, durable pattern that underlies the perceived mess. When I am restless, I sometimes press my cheek directly against the soft folds. It's an act of profound surrender. The fabric doesn't demand conversation or explanation. It simply offers its familiar, quiet temperature, slightly cool, then quickly warming to meet my own body's heat. We spend so much time reaching outward for solutions, for answers, for the next thing. But this simple act of wrapping oneself in a beloved texture is an intimate movement inward. It's a quiet reassurance whispered across the skin. Everything you need to feel settled is right here, beneath the surface. Do you remember the quiet security of being a child, tucked tightly into bed, feeling the weight of the sheets as a gentle fortress? This linen carries that same sense. a boundary that keeps the harsh edges of the outside world at bay, creating a small, breathing space that is utterly mine. It is a quiet joy, this physical connection to something soft, familiar, and enduring. It teaches me that calm is sometimes simply a matter of felt gravity, the assurance that you are connected, not floating adrift. The linen settles around us now, a soft pool of peace. We are steady. And now that we are anchored by touch, what sound shall we listen for next? Shall we allow the world's natural rhythm to soothe us? The listening room, finding sanctuary in ambient noise. We often think of quiet as the total absence of sound, don't we? But sometimes that kind of absolute silence can feel demanding, almost like a vacuum waiting to be filled by the loudest voice in our head. For the keeper of quiet, the true sanctuary is not silence, but the listening room, finding immediate calm in the gentle, continuous presence of ambient sound. This specific emergency measure relies on a phenomenon I call the quiet hum of a boundary. Imagine, just for a moment, the soft, steady sound of rain falling outside. Not a violent storm, but a quiet, diligent shower, the kind that makes the window panes misty and the air smell of earth and coolness. When my mind is too sharp and argumentative, that sound becomes my focus. It acts like a sonic white linen draping itself over the world. It doesn't stop the thoughts, but it gently rounds their edges. Instead of trying to fight the noise in my head, I simply let the rain absorb it. Or perhaps it's the quiet, rhythmic sigh of a distant train, miles away. It's a sound that speaks of movement, yet paradoxically invites stillness. It suggests that while the world is indeed continuing its journey, I do not have to be on that track right now. I'm simply listening to its passing, a secure observer in a cozy, warm room. The key to this gentle listening is to let the sound be a constant, predictable companion. Sharp, sudden noises, like an abrupt phone, notification, or a slammed door, can jar the nervous system. But the steady shh of the wind outside the eaves, the subtle whir of a fan, or the quiet mechanical tick of an old clock provides an unhurried, continuous presence. It becomes the peaceful, unnoticed undercurrent of the moment. Think of it this way, dear one. The constant, gentle sound is a thread you can hold on to. It stops your mind from spiraling into the empty space of absolute silence. It gives the racing thoughts something harmless and external to land upon, and then, slowly, they begin to mimic its rhythm. The internal chaos starts to echo the external calm. It's a subtle philosophical shift, isn't it? We move from blocking the world out to simply accepting its gentle sonic texture. We realize that even the sound of the world breathing quietly, the ambient hum of the house settling, the distant traffic that becomes a low ocean sound, can be a form of deep, immersive peace. Allow yourself to listen now, just for a few heartbeats. What is the softest, steadiest sound surrounding you? Let it wash over you. Don't analyze it, don't name it. Just let it be the quiet, constant yes of the present moment. The listening room is always open, always warm. The gentle hum settles us into deep rest. We are ready now for the next quiet discovery. Shall we anchor our attention to something tangible and small? The pocket compass, the ritual of tracing. A tiny, smooth object. When the mind is moving too fast, too scattered, it often loses its sense of direction, spinning wildly without an internal compass. This is why, for immediate calm, the keeper of quiet carries a tiny, silent helper, the pocket compass, a small, smooth, ritual object. It's not a navigational device, of course. It's simply a small, unremarkably ordinary stone I picked up on a quiet beach many years ago. It's dark grey, worn smooth by the ocean's patient insistence, and it fits perfectly into the hollow of my palm. The ritual is profoundly simple, yet immensely effective. When my energy feels fractured, I take it out, cup it gently, and begin to trace its cool surface with my thumb. Imagine the feeling, my friend. The cool solidity of the stone is an immediate counterpoint to the heat of anxiety. The surface is not perfect. There are tiny ridges and imperceptible dips, the history of its long, slow journey. The act of tracing is a quiet, wordless meditation. It's a way of giving my overactive mind a specific physical job, a task so simple and repetitive that it has no room for complicated thought. My focus gently falls from the vast, overwhelming landscape of my worries down to this 1 square inch of smooth, cool rock. Do you see the magic in it? This small object becomes a point of intentional return. Whenever a sharp thought tries to pull me away, did I remember that email? What about tomorrow's schedule? My thumb catches a small ridge on the stone, and I am instantly pulled back. Here, now, smooth, cool. It's a physical manifestation of the idea that less is more when seeking peace. The stone is utterly silent. It requires nothing. It has no to-do list, no expectations, and no urgent timeline. It has simply been for a very long time, and its slow, deep stability is contagious. Holding it is a whisper of connection to something ancient and enduring. The rushing pace of the modern world feels temporary and thin compared to the quiet, immutable reality of this smooth stone. It reminds me that my anxieties, too, are often temporary, like the fleeting foam on a wave that will eventually smooth the rock even further. So, if your thoughts begin to spin, try finding something small and solid nearby, a smooth pen, the edge of a mug, or even a piece of soft cloth. Give your focused attention to its texture, its temperature, its simple shape. Let your touch become your gentle anchor. This small, cool object has done its work. It has gathered the scattered parts of our attention and held them gently in the palm of our hand. We are steady and present. What quiet invitation shall we accept next? Perhaps the radical idea of stopping entirely. The borrowed time. Allowing yourself a full stop in the middle of the day. We are trained, aren't we, to keep moving, to always be achieving, always progressing, always feeling the subtle pressure of the clock's invisible hand on our back. But the keeper of quiet knows that sometimes the most profound act of calm is the quiet, almost revolutionary gesture of accepting the borrowed time. This measure is simply allowing yourself a full stop, a true, guiltless cessation of movement, even if it is just for the span of 3 long breaths or 1 minute stolen from the middle of the day. I learned this quiet art during a season when I felt particularly driven, relentlessly pushing myself from one task to the next. The constant motion made me feel productive, but it left me thin and frayed like worn fabric. The emergency came one afternoon when I realized I was pouring coffee but couldn't recall why I needed it. I simply stopped. I set the half-filled mug down. I let my shoulders drop, and I told myself, very softly, I am borrowing 60 seconds from the universe, and I owe no one an explanation. The key here is the mindset, my friend. It's not a pause taken begrudgingly, waiting impatiently for the clock to release you back to the rush. It is a genuine, deep-seated permission to be utterly unproductive for a moment. Imagine you are standing at a quiet, unmarked crossroad. You don't have to choose a path, or even look at a map. You simply stand there, feeling the ground beneath your feet. You observe the clock, yes, but not with urgency. You see the second-hand sweep, and you let it be a quiet, mesmerizing rhythm. Not a deadline, but a pulse. What happens in that borrowed time? Nothing, usually. And that nothing is everything. You might notice the dust motes dancing in a shaft of sun, or the specific way the light falls on a piece of wood. You might hear the distant, subtle drone of a household appliance. You allow your awareness to settle on the smallest, most immediate sensory detail. The cool air on your skin, the quiet ache in a muscle, the slow, rhythmic beat of your own heart. This isn't meditation that requires effort, it's simply restful presence. It's the gentle realization that the world does not, in fact, collapse just because you stopped pushing it for 60 seconds. In fact, when you return to your task, you often find your movements are smoother, your vision clearer, and your intention is deeper because you have refilled the tiny reservoir of your inner resources. So let's borrow a few seconds now, shall we? Feel the quiet relief of being completely off the clock, even just until the next sentence begins. Breathe deep, patient air. The borrowed. Time has been received and used gently. We are rested and steady. Where shall we turn our gaze now? To the calming, vast rhythms of the outside world, perhaps. The sky's breath, the slow, undulating rhythm of the horizon. When anxiety takes hold, our breath often becomes shallow, stuck high in the chest, mimicking the frantic, tight feeling of a mind racing against itself. To counter this, the keeper of quiet uses a profound visual trick, the sky's breath, gently borrowing the slow, undulating rhythm of the horizon. This emergency measure asks us to look up or out and allow the vastness of the sky, even just the view from a window, to guide our exhalation. Imagine, my dear friend, you are looking toward the edge of the world where the gentle curve of the land meets the boundless air. Whether it is the soft, layered colors of twilight, the steady blue of midday, or the slow crawl of a cloud, the horizon offers a picture of unhurried, monumental scale. It is the ultimate antidote to the small, intense, hurried focus of worry. When I need immediate calm, I find a window. I don't focus on the sharp details, not the busy traffic, nor the demanding edges of nearby buildings. Instead, I let my gaze soften and expand toward the distance. The sky never rushes, does it? The clouds don't suddenly leap across the expanse. They drift with magnificent, quiet patience. That slow, massive movement becomes a mirror for my breathing. As I watch a cloud gather and swell, I inhale gently, allowing the air to fill me fully, completely, just as the cloud fills its space. And then, as I watch the horizon stretch out, quiet and wide, I exhale slowly, continuously, letting the breath travel far, far away, across the distance of the view, until my lungs are completely emptied and soft. This is a powerful, meditative connection. We are using the visual expansion of the natural world to teach our bodies how to relax and expand. The act of looking far away pulls our focus out of the tight, anxious knot in our own head. The worries remain small and close, but our attention, our awareness, becomes as wide and calm as the sky itself. It is a quiet, wordless affirmation that life continues on a scale far grander and slower than our current moment of panic. The horizon has waited patiently for millions of years. Surely, my thoughts can wait one more minute. Try it now, if you can. Look up, or just remember a view of a vast sky, a gentle mountain, or a wide ocean. Inhale with the rise of the earth. Exhale with the endless, soft distance. Let the rhythm of the world's breath become your own. The sky holds our worry and gives us back patience. We are breathing deep, unhurried air. There is just one quiet piece left in our kit. Shall we explore the gentle freedom of putting our worries down? The unsent. Letter, the quiet release of putting thoughts onto paper. Our final measure in the Keeper of Quiet's kit, my dear friend, addresses the most restless part of us, the mind that spins its worries endlessly, demanding an audience and a solution. This is the quiet, gentle catharsis of the unsent letter. It's not about writing a beautiful essay or a formal journal entry. This is an act of pure release, the quiet ceremony of pouring the anxieties, the sharp edges of the day, and the persistent nagging questions out onto a page. I keep a small, simple notebook for this purpose. It is ordinary, with the thin, slightly rough pages. When I feel overwhelmed, I don't try to analyze or structure my thoughts. I simply start whispering them onto the paper with a pen that glides easily, without resistance. Imagine the motion now. Your hand moving slowly across the page, not writing to anyone and not expecting any reply. You are simply talking to the paper itself, granting your restless thoughts the physical form they crave. This is where I write the impossible conversations, the fears too, foolish to speak aloud, and the arguments I'm having with myself. I write them as a letter that will never be sealed, never addressed, and certainly never sent. The profound calm comes in two parts. First, the act of translating an intangible fear, which feels vast and shapeless, into neat, finite lines of ink, which have a defined beginning and end, gives it a surprising sense of order and containment. The worry is no longer a swirling vortex in my chest. It is a small, quiet, passive object resting on the page. Second, the paper becomes the silent, perfectly neutral listener. It doesn't judge, it doesn't offer advice, and it doesn't interrupt. By the time the pen slows to a stop, I haven't solved the problems, but I have successfully moved them out of my head. They are now resting peacefully outside the boundary of my mind, waiting patiently on a page. There is a quiet, powerful freedom in that. Once written, the thoughts belong to the paper. I close the notebook softly, and with that small, decisive action, I leave the weight behind. I might return to it tomorrow with fresh eyes, or perhaps I will simply let those specific anxieties remain sealed within the covers, having served their purpose of being heard and released. Do you have a few quiet words waiting to be set free tonight? Whisper them onto a mental page, or simply allow the heavy thoughts to settle, like dust, onto the quiet air around you. Let them rest outside the borders of your consciousness. The letter is written, the pen is down, the notebook is closed. The immediate calm we sought is now settled around us, a deep, pervasive quiet. Quiet settled fully,